I don't know if it's me or the room. I'm perspiring. Today, let's try something new. Let's go technical. We will read the Bible in English and then read it in the original language of the New Testament, which is Greek. Yeah, we will be speaking Greek today.
Like that?
Yeah, you like it?
Yes.
In a way, it's experiment. I told Brother Yuli, let's try something new for a change. So, let's talk about John 21, the last chapter of the Gospel of John. And here's the outline. We will read John 21. The only problem is this one doesn't have HDMI. So I cannot open the Wi-Fi and show it to you here.
Oh, actually, the Wi-Fi is okay because Wi-Fi here is not working.
And during our reading, there must be a way to read. I'll read it from my iPhone, but you cannot see it. I wanted to see you to see it, but let me read it.
Right here.
Okay. This is the chapter 21, the last chapter in the Gospel of St. John. After this, Jesus revealed himself again to his disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. Now, the Sea of Tiberias is the same as the Sea of Galilee, the Lake Gennesaret, something like that. He revealed himself in this way. Together were Simon Peter, Thomas called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee. By the way, Nathanael is the only, St. John is the only gospel that mentions Nathanael. In the other gospels, that apostle is Bartholomew. Okay? Zebedee's sons. How many sons are there among the apostles of Zebedee? Sons of Zebedee? Two. John and James. Okay? And two other of his disciples. So, how many are they? 7, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. Simon Peter said to them, I am going fishing. They said to him, we will also come with you. So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. When it was already dawn, Jesus was standing on the shore. But the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. Now, remember, this scenario, or this episode, happened after the resurrection of Jesus. Okay? I'll show you the timeline later on. But this is probably about 10 to 12 days after the crucifixion. And they were told by Jesus to go to Galilee and wait for me there. So that's why these apostles are in Galilee, because they were told by Jesus, they were instructed to go there. But it's amazing that they didn't recognized Jesus in the shore. Jesus said to them, "Children, have you caught anything to eat?" They answered him, "No." So he said to them, "Cast the net over the right side of the boat, you will find something." So they cast it and were not able to pull it because of the number of fish. So the disciples whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard it was the Lord, he tucked in his garment, for he was lightly clad, and jumped into the sea. He was so excited to see Jesus. The other disciples came into the boat, for they were not far from the shore, only about 100 yards, dragging the net with the fish. So when they came in, Jesus was already preparing breakfast. I'll go straight to verse 15 to 17 because this is the focus of my talk. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than this?" He said to him, "Jesus, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." Verse 16, he then said to him a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Verse 17, he said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was distressed that he had said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." So we'll stop here. Now, chapter 21, according to some experts, here's the verses. Chapter 21, according to some experts, was added to the Gospel of John when it was already completed. Meaning to say, the original Gospel of John was only through chapter 20. And then somebody added this chapter 21. And the reason is it exhibits a Greek style somewhat different from that of the rest of the world. So the chapter 21 is written in a way that is different from the way the first chapter to the 20th chapter was written. So that's their reasoning. But if you go to chapter 20, the last two verses of the chapter. Now Jesus did many things, Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples that are not written in this book. But these are written that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through this belief you may have life in his name. Does it not sound like it's a conclusion of some write-up? So if you just look at chapter 20, you will already conclude that this must be the ending of the gospel. Okay? So that's my BTW, by the way. So I'll do this by the ways because we may not have another chance to talk about this, and you will not know something about the Bible. Okay? Now another, by the way, for BTW. There are doubts as to the real authorship of the Gospel of John. They say that, some experts say that the Apostle John was not the real author of the Gospel of John, that we now call the Gospel of John. Here are the reasons. and its literary style was way beyond the capacity, the capability of a simple fisherman, John. You know the apostles in Acts 4, they were called uneducated, ordinary men. And the Gospels, the entire New Testament was written in Greek. And they were Jews, and their native language is Hebrew or Aramaic. And these are just simple, ordinary, uneducated men. So how can they write a book in Greek? And not just in Greek, but highly developed Greek. And the theology in the gospel is so developed that it cannot be, these people are just very ordinary people. So that's one reason, one of the reasons that say the Gospel of John is not John. Another one, John's Gospel is filled with details of priestly functions, so it must have been written by one belonging to a priestly family. We cannot, if we read this, I don't think I can pick up, okay, this is priestly family, but this is what I found in reading some books. Pope Benedict XVI suggested that a certain presbyter John, presbyter is a priestly, somebody that belongs to a priestly family. In the Old Testament, being a priest is assigned to a family. So if you belong to that family, then you are a priest. And as I said in the third wonder, there are so many priestly functions described in the gospel that only a person who belongs to a priestly family could do. And Pope Benedict XVI suggested, remember the word suggested, because it's not out of his ex cathedra, it's not a dogma, it's just an opinion that he expressed. That a certain presbyter John was one of many authors of the Gospel of John. Okay, so this is one side of the issue. Now, on the other side, we have reasons for John the Apostle to be the author. One, eyewitness testimony. If you have that Bible, the NABRE, New American Bible, Revised Edition, it's a good Bible because every chapter has, or every gospel or book has an introduction. And it even has footnotes. So it's good. So this is the one that in the introduction to the Gospel of John, it says, the accuracy of much of the detail of the fourth Gospel rests upon the testimony of an eyewitness. Therefore, what's happening is the one who wrote that Gospel was an eyewitness. What is an eyewitness? Somebody who was there when this happened, right? We call them eyewitness account. Now, second reason is tradition. Since the beginning of Christianity, that Gospel of John has been recognized as being written by John the Apostle, the son of Zebedee. Okay? Now, so we have two sides now. Like, are the opposing sides? One says it cannot be John because he's just a simple man, no education, a fisherman. How can he write in beautiful Greek? And the other side is But the details in the gospel are of somebody who was there, eyewitness account. So how do we reconcile this? Amanuensis. Have you heard this word before?
No.
Yeah, me too. That's the first time I heard. What is amanuensis? It's an English word. Word in our English language. What is an amanuensis? A scribe or secretary who takes dictation. Okay? John dictated to an amanuensis the ideas he once written. Okay? Now, the amanuensis, who is probably more educated than John, well versed in Greek, well versed in the art of writing, wrote down what John wants him to write. But he was the one who organized everything, the right grammar, the syntax, and all that. Have you seen this, like Trump? Trump wrote us his book, The Art of the Deal. But do you think he was the one who wrote it? It was an amanuensis. Somebody who writes for him. Or these big people like, I don't know, President Bush, when they write their biography or autobiography, they are not the ones who write them. It's a professional writer, which is equivalent to an amanuensis. Okay? So that reconciles everything. Here's John with an eyewitness account, and here's an amanuensis who can write in good Greek, good grammar, good syntax. Put it together, and even if the amanuensis is the one who writes it down, John is still the author of the Gospel of John. Do you understand? So now we can reconcile both sides. Now, amanuensis in the Bible. The use of amanuensis in the Bible was very common, by the way. Jeremiah, the Old Testament, chapter 36. So Jeremiah called Baruch, son of Uriah, and he wrote down on a scroll what Jeremiah said, all the words which the Lord had spoken to him. Okay, so even Jeremiah in the Old Testament used an amanuensis. And then St. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, you will see this line, I, Tertius, the writer of this letter, greet you in the Lord. So the one who writes this letter to the Romans was Tertius, but in the name, in behalf of St. Paul. So it is still the letter of St. Paul. Okay? So that's an amanuensis. Even St. Peter. I write you this briefly in first letter of Peter, chapter 5. I write you this briefly through Silvanus. So Silvanus was the amanuensis of Peter. Okay? So that's the, by the way. Okay, let's go back to our topic. Now, because we are talking about Jesus asking Peter, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, Lord, I love you. By the way, this gospel, chapter 21 of John, you can only hear this every 3 years on a Sunday. It is read on the third Sunday of Easter. And the last time this was read was on on April 10, 2016. And it's easy to remember this because we were attending Mass in Cebu, the Redemptorist Church. And when the priest come into the sanctuary, he said, he looks like Brother Tony. No, it cannot be. He said, maybe it's his priest brother. But I said, no, because his brother was not a Redemptorist. But anyway, so the last time this was read on a Sunday, which is the third Sunday of Easter, was in April 10, 2016. Now the liturgical cycle is every 3 years. So the next time you will hear this is 2019. And it's easy to remember this date. When this gospel will be read, 5 de Mayo. The third Sunday of Easter will be on 5 de Mayo. You can look at it in the calendar. So, when Brother Yuli asked me to give this talk, and he sent me all these emails about, this is the talk we used to give. And I said, why don't we do this? Well, you know what I'm doing now. It's a good timing because the 5 de Mayo is coming, the third Sunday of Easter is coming. So maybe you will remember this on the third Sunday, on 5 de Mayo, this gospel will be read. And hopefully you will remember what we will be discussing here today. Okay? So, these are in Greek, there are 4 major words for love. One is agape. Agape is unconditional love. And you will find this in the New Testament 320 times as a noun or as a verb. Okay? A noun or as a verb, it appears 320 times. But if you Google it, some different numbers will come up. But I don't know who is counting anyway. But just for our purposes. Then the other word for love in Greek is philia. What is the city of brotherly love? Philadelphia. It comes from this. Phila. Have you heard of philatelic? What is philatelic? You know the stamp collection? Is that not philatelic?
Oh, yeah.
People who collect stamps? Yeah, it comes from this word. There are variations. Philos. Philosophy. Philosophy is lover of wisdom. Philos and then Sophia. Sophia is wisdom. So a lover of wisdom. So philia is a friendly love or brotherly love. It appears in the Bible as a noun or as a verb 54 times. Eros, nothing in the New Testament. Storge, nothing in the New Testament. Now, why is it that the New Testament is written in Greek? I mean, it's not this current New Greek now, it's called the Classical Greek or Koine Greek. Because at that time, early Christianity, the common language or a so-called lingua franca was Greek, including the Holy Land. The Greek influence was all over that place. Why? Because they were under the Greeks. The Holy Land was under the Greeks for years. And you remember Alexander the Great? He conquered the Holy Land. So, that's why when the New Testament was written, it was written in Greek because it was the common language. If the New Testament were written in the Philippines, what would be the language it would be written on? Tagalog. Tagalog. Tagalog, because everywhere you go in the Philippines, north or south, if you can speak Tagalog, you can manage yourself. Because it's commonly spoken. Okay? So, that was the reason that the New Testament was written in Greek. Now, Pope Benedict XVI, he wrote an encyclical Deus Caritas Est, or on Christian love, in 2005, and then in a Lenten message in 2007, he mentioned these only three words on love. But Greek, he used these words, philia. It's the love of friendship. And then agape, oblative love. It's something that you offer. I give myself to you. I offer myself to you. That's agape. It's coming out of yourself to others. On the other hand, eros, the Pope said, it's a possessive love. I am yours, you are mine. There's a song. I am yours, you are mine. So that's eros. Now, let's go to the heart of our discussion. As I said, we will read the Bible in Greek. So this is the original tract in Greek. Verse 15. We are only talking about verse 15, 16, and 17. Okay? So don't forget about that. 15, 16, 17. Those three times that Jesus asked, do you love me? Okay? Jesus asked Peter, do you agape me? Do you love me with unconditional love? That's what Jesus was asking Peter. The Greek word that John used was agape, unconditional love. And what did Peter answer? Lord, I philia you. I love you as a friend. Are they in sync? Now, when you ask a person a question and you don't get the answer you're expecting, what do you usually do? Ask again. You ask the same question again. Verse 16. Peter, do you agape me? Do you love me unconditionally? And what is Peter's answer? Lord, I philia you. Are they in sync? No. Now the third time. Just imagine this, what happened. How Jesus asked Peter. 17. Jesus, Peter, do you philia me? And Peter answered, yes, Lord, I philia you. What did Jesus do? He went down to the level of Peter. Why? Because he understood, and we will see later on, that Peter was not ready yet to say, Lord, take me, I will fight for you. What did he do 10 days ago or 12 days ago? He denied. So, he cannot expect Peter to say, I love you unconditionally. And Peter, on the other hand, cannot say that because he knows he is not ready yet. You understand? Peter did not use agape because he was honest enough to say, I love you as a brother, I love you as a friend. Philia. So, this is what happened. 2 times Jesus asked Peter, do you love me unconditionally? But Peter would answer, Lord, I love you as a friend, as a brother. And then the 3rd time, Jesus went down to Peter's level, said, do you feel me? Yes. Now, you will see later on that this is not as easy as it seems. Because when you must have heard this gospel on a Sunday, right? Or the priest making a sermon. What is when the priest gives a sermon, what does he say about this gospel? What is the lesson? Regardless of what you see here, does it not the priest will say, Jesus asked Peter 3 times, do you love me? Just to spite him because he denied Jesus 3 times. Right? But we're reading it in English. Now reading it in Greek, do you see a different meaning?
Yes.
Here is the original Greek. I don't know if you can read it. The left side is Greek, the right side is English. Now, the first time Jesus was asking, this is the original Greek language. Do you agapas? Do you agapas me? Now, who speaks Spanish? Where's brother? Oh, John is over. The Spanish language, you conjugate your verb. Amo, I love you. Amo, amas, ama. Amamos, amais, aman.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, now, the same way, Greek and Latin conjugate their verbs. Almost. So when you hear this agapas, it's just like the amas. You, do you love me? Agapas. Which is the same as amas. And then Peter answered, Philo. You know, I underline it red. Philo. Philo is like amo. When I love amo, in Greek, philo. See, they're similar. I don't know which comes first, Spanish or Greek or Latin. But I think it's Greek because even the Russian language or even their alphabet, some of them are Greek alphabets. Okay? So that's the original dialogue in Greek. Now, there's some questions that I put in. Does reading these verses in Greek change your understanding and perspective?
Yes.
Did it change?
Yes.
So, when you read it in English, love, 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 it's the same. You don't see the distinction. But if you read it in Greek, Now it becomes clearer. Right? Now, Peter's answer to Jesus, do they provoke a question? Why would Peter not commit to saying, yes, Lord, I agape you? Is he hesitating?
He's afraid.
Is he falling short? Is he afraid? He just 12 days ago or 10 days ago, he just saw his master being crucified, tortured. Do you think if I were Peter, I can say, yes, Lord, let's go? Huh? Maybe not. So, is this question valid enough from Peter's answers? Is Peter hesitating? Huh? Is he hesitating? Or is he giving up? Is he falling short of expectations? Okay? Now, this is a question that is answerable in no and yes. And we will bring up answers for both sides. No and yes. So let's start with no first. Synonymous words. According to some experts, agape and philia, they are synonymous, they are interchangeable. They have the same meaning. Okay? And I'll give you the details later on. This is a summary. The original tract, not in Greek. Remember, Jesus and the apostles were Jews. What is their native language? Hebrew. Hebrew or Aramaic, but not Greek. Okay? So when John wrote this gospel in Greek, he probably did not, I don't know, it's just like we have a group like this, we hear this, we talk to our friends in Tagalog, and then when you write an email about that conversation, you write it in English, right? So it's the same. The original conversation between Peter and Jesus was definitely not Greek. Might be Hebrew or Aramaic. So the distinction between agape and philia, probably not applicable. So this is one reason that the answer is no. Okay? Let's see, yes. The yes answer. Why did John write the way he did? Why did John use agape in Jesus' question and then use philia in Peter's answer? What was the reason? There must be a reason that John, when he wrote this gospel, he used different words. Is that not a good question? You know, why did thanks for the water? Are you with me?
Yeah.
If you don't understand, please raise your hand, okay? Because the reason for this is, I'd like you to, you know, I'm telling a story, and it's like I'm putting one block on top of the other, building blocks. And if you don't understand something, and we go up there, then you probably will miss a lot of things. So don't hesitate to raise your hand. Was the use of different words by John intentional? When he wrote about the conversation between Jesus and Peter, was it intentional? Even if the original conversation was not in Greek, did he intentionally say something? You know, it's just like when we use words that are different and you use it because that's your intent. Okay? So, was the use of different words by John intentional? Or is it just, you know, it's just normal, careless use of words? Okay. Let's expound on the no answer. Peter is not hesitating. This is from the a footnote in that Bible, Nabri. Or if you go to the website, you see usccb.org, and you go to the footnote on 15, 17, said, in these three verses, 15, 16, 17, remember? There is a remarkable variety of synonyms. Remember that? Two different Greek words for love. And then say, see a footnote on John 15, 13. This is from John 15, 13. The words for love are related to the Greek agapao. Agapao is like amar, you know, to love, to do something. Amar, agapao. In John 15:13, B15, the words for love are related to the Greek phileo. For John, the two roots seem synonymous and mean to love. One thing that disturbs me is just sin. They're not even sure. The two roots seem synonymous for John. So, they think that John probably, who knows, it just is sin, you know, it's not certainly. Okay, so but anyway, from the footnote in the Bible, it says it is interchangeable, it's not different. And here's an example. In John 16:27, for the Father himself loves you because you have loved me and have come to believe that I came from God. Now, what is the Greek word used in that verse? The Greek word used is the philia. Here's the one, philii. The root word is philia, okay, or philio. And then here's the other one. Pifilikati. Okay? So it seems like in the Gospels, not only John, there are instances when instead of using agape, they are using philia or philio, meaning they are interchanging the words. So this is the argument they are presenting to say that no, it was no big deal. When Peter said use philia, it was no big deal. This is same. Okay? So that's their argument. And there are other instances. These are other instances where the philia or the agape are being interchanged. Here's another reason that Peter is not hesitating. The original language of conversation was not Greek, like we said before. It was not Greek because they were Hebrews, they were Jews. Okay? So when they were talking, and John was listening, they were talking in Hebrew, not Greek. So when John wrote about that conversation in Greek, it may not reflect exactly the conversation, because they were talking in Bisaya and you are writing in Tagalog. Maybe you will we have heard this Bisaya talking about aso, and you wrote here in Tagalog, dog. And here in Bisaya, you heard this guy talking about sili in paper. And you wrote in Tagalog, sili. What's sili in Tagalog? So that's what I mean. You know, John probably, when he wrote the gospel, was careless enough to make or even, you know, the distinction. Because during the time of Jesus, there were 4 major languages. Latin because they were under the Romans. The Romans speak or spoke Latin. And they were under the Roman Empire. And then there was Greek. Israel was under the Greeks from 334 BC to 160 BC. So the influence of the Greek language was still strong. And then there's Hebrew, the language of the Jews. Then there is Aramaic, ancient language of the Jews. Remember when Jesus was crucified, Pontius Pilate wanted to put on top of the cross a sign. In which languages? Latin, Greek, and Hebrew. Latin, Greek, and Hebrew. Because they were the major languages at that time. Okay? Any question? Now, we go to the yes answer. Okay? Yes, Peter seems to fall short or was hesitating the way he answered. But again, why did John write the way he did? Now, always don't lose sight of the fact that we are talking about a narrative, a narration. We are talking about a narration by a story by John about what happened between Peter and Jesus. Okay? So, it's very important. So why did John write the way he did? Why did he use agape for Jesus and philia for Peter? 2 times. And then the last one was philia. Did he have something to say? Is there, how do you call it? Did he want to say something about the conversation? Huh? Some agenda, right? Did John have an agenda when he wrote the way he did?